Hello everyone and welcome to my channel War Capsule. Today I want to talk about the movie Escape from Mogadishu. This movie has been making waves in the cinema industry recently and I wanted to share my thoughts on it. First, let me start by saying that this movie is a must-watch for anyone who loves action thrillers. The film is based on the true story of two rival countries, North and South Korea, who came together to escape war-torn Mogadishu in 1991. The story of the film is engaging and will keep you on the edge of your seat throughout its runtime. The director has done a great job in creating tension and suspense in every scene. The action sequences are well designed and flawlessly executed. The acting is wonderful. The main actors Kim Yoon-suk and Joo In-sung have done an exceptional job in portraying their characters. Their on-screen chemistry is palpable and they bring a sense of realism to their roles. What stood out to me was the attention to detail and recreating the scene of Mogadishu during the Civil War. The cinematography is breathtaking and takes you to another time and place. Another aspect I appreciated was how the film portrayed the human side of war. It showed how people from different backgrounds can come together in times of crisis and work towards a common goal. Overall, Escape from Mogadishu is a fantastic film that deserves all the accolades it has received recently. It's a thrill ride that will keep you engaged from start to finish. Let's not waste time and go to the summary of the movie. Get ready for an action-packed drama movie called Escape from Mogadishu that will leave you on the edge of your seat. The movie takes us back to 1987 when the Korean government sent officials to Mogadishu, Somalia, hoping to gain support in their dispute over a seat. The tension is high as Africa had the greatest voting power at the time. We meet Han, the South Korean ambassador to Somalia, who proudly shows off how his government has helped advance technological research at the University of Somalia. But things take a dangerous turn when Han and his colleague Kang receive a briefcase from Counselor Kang Dee-jin. Suddenly, rebels attack their car and steal the briefcase, leaving Han and his driver stranded on the road. With adrenaline pumping through their veins, Han and Secretary Gong Soo-kal make a run for it towards the presidential palace. They arrive breathless and exhausted but determined to survive. Things take a turn for the worse when Han arrives at the palace only to find out that their meeting with the president has been cancelled due to being 15 minutes late. Han demands answers from the palace personnel and learns that North Korea is up next for a meeting. As Ambassador Rim and Counselor Tae Joon-gi are escorted through the palace by servants, Joon-gi shows a softer side by visiting a slum and offering food and school supplies to children. But later, he reveals that he ordered rebels to take a suitcase out of South Korea in the North Korean embassy. In a tense scene, Rim opens the suitcase while giving himself an insulin shot and declares that he sees no use in ruining South Korea's appointment. Han becomes convinced that North Korea is responsible for the briefcase's disappearance as Han receives a call from their minister requesting an update on their failed meeting with the president. In the midst of chaos and political tension, Kang made a risky move by paying off a journalist to publish photos of rebels wielding North Korean weapons. Despite admitting to the bribe, Kang believed it was insignificant given the already ongoing war in Africa. The next day, Han was set to meet with the Somalian foreign minister in the hotel's restaurant. The meeting was crucial as Somalia had promised to support South Korea's application to join the UN. But when Han brought up the impending war, the foreign minister seemed unfazed. As tensions rose and debates over diplomacy turned heated, shots rang out and explosions rocked the hotel. Armed guards demanded the release of their Islamic leaders while civilians took charge and set off smoke bombs in a desperate attempt to gain control of the situation. In a race for safety, Rim, Han, and their counselors fought for survival amidst a backdrop of political turmoil and violence. As the sun began to set on Mogadishu, the tension inside the SK embassy was palpable. Suddenly, they heard a commotion at the doorbell and rushed to check it out. To their horror, they found Swama, a rebel covered in blood, lying on the ground. After cleaning him up with his handkerchief, they learned of his true identity, but their relief was short-lived as a Somali police squad demanded access to the embassy to search for one of the riot's organizers. Han and Gong stood their ground, warning the cops that they couldn't just barge into Korean government property. When the police refused to back down, Han threatened to contact the police chief and even displayed his ID. As tensions continued to rise, Swama made a run for it but was caught by the cops who delivered a brutal blow to his head. Despite their pleas for help, Swama perished on the highway while protesting citizens challenged the president's dictatorship. But hope was not lost as General of the United Somali Congress sent faxes carrying the truth to all embassies. In the midst of a corrupt and oppressive regime, the embassies have taken matters into their own hands. They believe that by eliminating the president, they can rid Somalia of its unethical leadership. But as tensions rise and chaos ensues, Kang finds himself stuck in traffic amidst a sea of civilians fighting for survival. With no other options, they decide to head back to their embassy. But as they make their way through the streets, they witness firsthand the anger and frustration of the Somali people. Protesters hurl stones and set fire to embassy entrances while accusing cops of attacking them. Inside their respective embassies, SK and NK employees burn all documents pertaining to the Somali government. As they lose contact with everything outside, he advises SK staff to broadcast a recording of a community event over loudspeakers. But just as things seem to be calming down, the military suddenly drives up in tanks and starts shooting at every civilian in sight. The stakes were high, with the general offering a hefty reward for anyone who could capture or report the president and his officers. But amidst the chaos, there was still hope for those seeking safety and protection. As tensions rose, the USC announced that what was happening outside was not a civil war, but rather a civilian uprising. The insurgents were still not participating, leaving them stranded and cut off from Seoul. Kang, a South Korean diplomat, found himself in the thick of it all when he visited the police station to request senior officers. But he was met with resistance from a cop who claimed that diplomatic privileges were not valid in times of national emergency. Kang refused to back down and demanded respect. When the cop pointed his gun at Kang's forehead, Kang remained steadfast and used his translator to convey his message. He even caught the attention of the commissioner observing from above when he honked his car's horn and yelled for them to arrest him. Finally, Kang persuades the cop to provide them with police protection. The Mogadishu rebels took control of the city on December 30th, 1990, arming everyone and chasing down all police and soldiers before hanging them in the middle of the street. Tourists are waiting for an evacuation plane at the airport while SK team tries to get in touch with the Korean embassy in Kenya but is unable. Later, all airports in Somalia are shut down by the government until other nations send planes to pick up their citizens. RIM and NK personnel are left at the NK embassy with nothing to eat. The defense official in charge of issuing travel authorizations fled the city, but the NK counselor promises that his informants will find some for them. However, things take a turn for the worse when the rebel leader who had previously given orders to grab the briefcase deserts him, robbing them of their last possessions, including RIM's medications. But when an NK counselor makes a valiant attack on the rebels, he is ultimately defeated and warned to flee before their brothers catch up to him. Racing to safety at the China embassy, they find it has already been searched, and their airport plans are foiled by the difficulty of carrying children. But just when they think they're safe, the ceiling ignites in flames and they must make a hasty departure. Seeking refuge at the SK embassy, RIM pleads for assistance while the NK counselor suspects his motives. When Han orders the children to be sent away, Kang persuades him to save them, leading to a heart-stopping chase through rebel territory. As the rebels close in, the NK staff runs for cover while police attack the insurgents. But when the rebels decide to go it alone, Kang and Han must race against time to get their people out safely. But their troubles are far from over. With too many personnel protecting them, the police demand more money. Kang makes another payment, but tensions run high as they sit down for supper. As they prepare for bed, RIM thanks Han for giving her insulin vial that belonged to the SK secretary. Han discovers that RIM has diabetes from her wife and administers insulin to himself. RIM makes it clear that they have no intention of affecting Han's wife and politely declines all offers of hospitality. He knows that the only way they can escape Somalia is by creating conversion certificates for each member, allowing them to pose as South Koreans and flee the country undetected. But Kang's plan hits a snag when the North Korean counselor discovers his scheme and destroys all of the completed documents. A heated battle ensues between the two counselors, with Kang emerging victorious thanks to his impressive fighting skills. As both groups look on in shock, Kang argues that converting to South Korean identity is necessary to avoid breaking national security law. But the NK personnel refuse, citing that there is no active insurrection. With tensions high and time running out, Han and RIM must come up with a new plan to escape. Their strategy involves visiting various embassies and posing as different nationalities. But when RIM suggests sacrificing some members for the greater good, Han expresses regret over their earlier actions and insists that their primary goal is simply to get away. As the sun began to rise, Rimhan and his two counselors prepared to depart from Mogadishu. They were assigned to different embassies and would be traveling in separate cars. However, their journey was about to take a dangerous turn. As they approached a crossroads, a group of rebels appeared out of nowhere and began to approach their vehicles. In a panic, the two cars quickly reversed and tried to hide from the rebels. But it was too late. The rebels had spotted them. The two cars split up and headed in opposite directions towards their respective embassies. But once they arrived, they found that their outcomes were vastly different. Han was given a plane ticket for all of the SK staff, while Rim was unable to obtain assistance from the Egyptian embassy due to political tensions between Italy and North Korea. Han came up with a plan. He told everyone that NK personnel had switched sides in order to secure their safety. As they waited for further instructions from the Italian ambassador, Han and Kang ran into him again. But there was a catch. They needed two brand new cars and everyone had to be at the Italian embassy before 4 p.m. Han, Rim, and their counselors rushed back to the SK embassy. The tension was palpable as they contemplated their next move. It felt like a risky proposition to step outside and brave the chaos of Mogadishu once more. After much deliberation, they decided to make a run for the Italian embassy, shielding themselves from gunshots with books and bags of dirt. The two groups made their way through the war-torn streets towards their destination. As they approached the embassy, the sound of prayer filled the airwaves. The four automobiles pulled up to a checkpoint where Kang handed over a letter and passport while the SK secretary raised their homemade white flag. Suddenly, a gun was drawn by Somalian soldiers who proceeded to open fire on the vehicles. In a desperate bid to escape, the NK counselor-driven automobile diverted from the group while being chased by a Somalian soldier in a jeep armed with a machine gun. Meanwhile, the other three vehicles encountered rebels burglarizing homes and were forced to watch helplessly as their cars were set ablaze, destroying all their literature in the process. Finally, they arrived at the Italian embassy gate, waving their white flags and shouting, "We are Koreans, never shoot." But despite their pleas for refuge, they were initially denied entry by Italian military guards. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the car driven by NK counselor arrived on scene, chased but still intact. The scene was chaotic as the Somalian soldiers chased after the vehicle carrying the counselor. Gunshots rang out as the Italian military commanded them to stop. But it was too late. The vehicle was riddled with bullets and came to a screeching halt. As the dust settled, South Koreans, North Koreans, Somalian soldiers, and rebels stood on the same ground without tension. It was a rare moment of peace in a war-torn country. To their shock, they found that the North Korean counselor had been killed during the chase. The Italian government held a burial service for him at daybreak. Despite their differences, the two groups worked together to board a bus and travel safely to the airport. The Italian government had requested a temporary ceasefire so that they could make their escape. As they boarded the rescue aircraft bound for Kenya, one of the North Korean employees thanked Kang for his assistance. He explained that their children would have become orphans if they hadn't returned to Pyongyang. Han offered Rim lodging since they lacked diplomatic links with Kenya, but Rim revealed that they had already made accommodations at the Italian embassy. He expressed his gratitude to Han before they parted ways. The movie ended with members of both teams touching down at Mombasa Airport in Kenya. They embraced each other and said their goodbyes before going their separate ways. It was a powerful reminder that even in times of war, humanity can prevail. The movie ends with a heartwarming scene as members of both the NK and SK staff touch down at Mombasa Airport. They embrace each other and express their gratitude before saying their goodbyes. Despite dispatching teams to receive them, the two groups act as though they have never met before disembarking from the aircraft. In the end, both teams ride off in different directions, leaving behind a sense of hope for a brighter future. Don't miss out on this thrilling tale of courage and sacrifice. Subscribe now for more videos like this and help our channel grow. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed my summary of the movie Escape from Mogadishu. If you have any thoughts or opinions on the movie, feel free to share them in the comments below. Also, if there's a particular movie that you'd like me to summarize in my next video, please let me know. I'm always open to suggestions and would love to hear what movies you're interested in. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.